Hey everyone, welcome back to She Blurts podcast. Today's guest is Tim. Hi Tim.
Hi, Brook.
Welcome to my podcast.
Oh, it's good to be here.
So Tim is a fantasy author. So can you tell our listeners when you first realized you wanted to be an author?
About the time I stopped wanting to be an astronaut, so I must have been 4 or 5. And I realized going into space would be awful dangerous, and I said, let's just do the other thing. What's the next best thing? And I thought, just coming up with stuff from my head. So they're like the opposite things, though. You know, one involves going to space, the other doesn't involve going anywhere in particular. At least not physically.
Yeah. We both had, I guess they would be a little bit of similar dreams. Like when I was little, I wanted to build trains. And people was like, build trains? Like they think I wanted to work on trains. No, I wanted to build the trains from the ground up. And they was like, what? And I had a full scholarship to do that and turned it down for a guy. I know, stupid. But had a full scholarship. But yeah, I switched that to journalism. So
journalism's useful too. Good skill.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So where do you get your ideas from when you think of your stories?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of my ideas are kind of just have been there. So I don't know where they come from exactly, but when I just, I'll take an idea. Actually, I was chatting with another friend of mine, an author friend of mine, yesterday, and we both kind of hit on the fact that a lot of the ideas we have, we've kind of always had, which is why it's kind of a weird question, right? Like, where did those ideas come from? I kind of always had them, or they've always been there, and I just kind of look over my shoulder, and there they are. I don't know, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, that's cool though. So what does your family think about your writing? Have they ever read any of your series or anything?
Yeah, I mean, my mom and one of my brothers have read actually 2 of my brothers have read some of my stuff. And generally I think they like it, but I have a pretty big family, mind you, big immediate family. And, but it's kind of funny because my twin brother has only read stuff of mine that he doesn't like, basically. And that's really kind of a problem for me because he's my favorite family member. I mean, we are twins.
That's cool. That's cool. I didn't know you had a twin, but that's cool. So, what inspired you to write your Demon Hunter series and your Twisted God series?
Similar stuff, actually, even though both of these series are quite different. I mean, one of them I came up with, the original idea kind of came to me when I was in freshman year of college. That was Demon Hunter. The other one came a lot later. It was 2014 when I wrote most of the first book. So it was around 2013 that I kind of got that idea. Quite different timing because this is going to date me, but I was in college. I started college in 2008. It's not a great time really to be going, actually. It was pretty rough years there. But at that time, I guess I was starting to get an inkling of how nasty the real world was, and that's really what I wanted to convey with the Demon Hunter series. Even though it's a secondary world fantasy series, right? It takes place in a world that's not ours at all. It's a fantasy series that very much has some sensibilities of how bleak and kind of dystopian our world is in similar ways. Even though there's a supernatural, there's these demons and monsters and magic, but it's all kind of couched in the original idea that the world is not what you think it is when you're first introduced to it, right? You're taught a lot of propaganda. We all learn a lot of things that aren't true because there are powerful people who want us to know those things and who want us to believe those things,
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's amazing. So have you ever, like when I went on your website and I was reading like the summary of your series, like have you ever thought about turning those into like comics? I mean, not comics, like anime, like how they do animated series, like those.
I've never really thought about it because I don't have the skills, and it seems like it'd be expensive to make animation. Even though I do book cover design, but that's the only skill I have as far as visuals at this point.
But you can like link up with somebody, like you can write the stories and they can write the graphics, like the
Oh yeah, do the pictures and
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I love comic books. I mean, especially manga, actually.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, and actually, and that reminds me, that's one of the things that really inspired Twisted Gods. That was a particular manga actually that I was
oh,
like, I want to do something kind of like that, and that happens a lot with me. You know, I'm like, oh, that kind of hit close to home. It's the kind of story I would like to tell. So,
yeah.
uh,
Okay.
but I don't. I'm not. I mean, and I love visual storytelling, but my hands are kind of stupid, and I can't can't draw anything for crap. And I like being independent, so
Mhm,
linking up with someone else is not something I'm really seen being able to do anytime soon.
mhm.
Yeah,
I just
unless I
think your
could pay
stories.
them. You know.
Yeah, that's true. But I like your ideas for your stories, like how you was describing them and stuff. Like I feel like they will make a great anime
Oh,
series.
well,
Like
I
I don't
agree.
know. So, can you tell our listeners like a brief summary of the two series?
Sure. Demon Hunter, the Demon Hunter series takes place in this kind of world that where demons rule the world, and they govern people and they kind of mess with people. But there's always the worst demons out there, and so so there are demon hunters like this immortal guy who's kind of the main character of the entire series.
Mhm.
Deckard Hadrian is this. He's been made immortal to hunt demons, and he's completely sleepless. He can control the wind, but he has a curse upon him as well. And there's a lot there. It's kind of similar to The Witcher, if people are familiar with that. It's kind of got a vibe a little like that, though
Yeah.
much less nasty actually. Weirdly, there's a lot more sense of decorum in my series than in The Witcher, but it's still fun. Let me put it that way. And then Twisted Gods is kind of more of a mashup. It was very much inspired by the manga for D Gray Man, which is an older well, not old. It's a post 2000s shonen manga. So it's like for Dragon Ball Z, it's in that legacy, right?
Oh.
Um but I mean, but then so in my book, sorry, not in D Gray Man, in Twisted Gods, the main character is kind of a nobody. He's this who starts out. Well, there's actually kind of two main characters, but never mind. I'm going off on a tangent. The main character starts off. He's just kind of he meets this noble girl who ends up becoming the savior of their pantheon of gods. And it's a weird thing to even think of. The gods need saving, yes, because they're all sick with this weird illness that has afflicted them for a long time. It's finally coming to a head, and they've created their own this person who can heal them using
Wow.
their ability, because they're all, each one is a god of a part of the clock face, so they kind of have an influence over time and fate and destiny and that kind of thing. So eventually they were able to make their own savior emerge from humanity, and but saving these gods who are all kind of, as the series name might tell you, twisted. They're all pretty bad. So
Mhm.
saving them could cost this woman her life, and this guy who's kind of the hero is trying to save her, and that's what the books are about. And there's a lot of action and violence and fighting giant machines and things like that. It's a weird series. I mean, because that's what, yeah. I mean, it's hard to explain in a nutshell because there's so many kind of salient details to it.
Yeah. Like it kind of reminds me a little bit of Death Note and then a little bit of the other series you was talking about. So yeah, I like it. But so what
Hmm.
was your hardest scene to write and why?
Ooh, okay, that's an interesting question. I mean, some of the trickier scenes I've written, there's one I fall back on that I think I really excelled at when I wrote it, and it was from another book. But within these two series that we're talking about, I think the hardest scene I had to write was probably the one where the heroine in Twisted Gods, Makina, she heals the god of death, who's like
Mhm.
this big, enormous fat guy, and who is obsessive and weird because most of the gods have a lot going on. And it was a really kind of dark, depressing, and maybe kind of slower scene. And I'm better at quicker stuff, honestly. So that was
Mhm.
challenging. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
But mostly, honestly, I find writing pretty easy. It's to the part where I'm not writing to be hard. So this, yeah.
Man, so do you have any other books that are coming out anytime soon?
Well, I'm working on the next Twisted Gods book, and I've got a lot of projects in the fire, but mostly it's Twisted Gods and Demon Hunter for now, since I've only got 3 Demon Hunter books, and there's going to be a lot more of those eventually. And I think there will be six Twisted Gods books in the end. I'm planning at least 6. There might be more. So, yeah, there could be many books in these series, and especially Demon Hunter I really like because the books don't all connect. They're not all parts of the same plot line. They all connect with the same characters, but they're more like a procedural in that way. They're like, okay, we beat this one bad guy. We hunted this one demon down and threw him into and defeated him. But now there's more stuff going on, and we go to a different setting. We've got more characters, more side characters, and stuff like that. And so that one's actually kind of easy to do in numbers, because even though the overall story progresses, there's a lot of stuff going on that is kind of setting based and more locally based.
Anyway. Okay, nice. Wow. Yeah. So, what advice would you give to help others who want to pursue a writing career?
Step 1 is to, of course, write. But step 2 is to relax, and especially while you're writing, try your best to relax. You can't. I mean, it's medically impossible to write a book when you're anxious. It's I was diagnosed with what is it? Major anxiety disorder. Back in college, and I only learned later when I was actually speaking to my therapist at the time that you can't. The creative portion of the brain shuts down when you're suffering from anxiety. So you got to relax. It's key.
Oh, I did not know that at all. No wonder I only got like 1 page of my book done. I'm like, man, I must be very anxious and stressed and tired. Like, I only got 1 page done. And people's like, well, you need to get your book done. And I'm like, okay, still at 1 page.
No, seriously, just needing to do something isn't enough. You also have to be able to do it, which is a weird thing to say, but I think it makes sense. It's because if you don't actually have like I can't fly, and you might as well be trying to fly without a plane or anything. If you don't, if you're anxious and you're trying to write, might as well be the same thing.
Yeah. Right. That's true. I want to thank you so much, Tim, for coming on my podcast today and chatting with me.
Oh, you're welcome. It was fun.
You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hey, everyone. I want to thank you all so much for listening to my interview with Tim. If you would like to check out his books, which I think that he should create an anime series, then you can go on his website. It's Tim and then his last name.com, and I've linked it below. It's scrolling below. And then you can just check out his books, see what other books he has going on. And thank you all so much for supporting my podcast. And I hope you all have a great day and make great choices. Bye.